So in the book, there's these 5 types of wealth: time, social, mental, physical, financial. I'd like to focus on one for a second and just hear your perspective, your thoughts on it. The social aspect of wealth and the way that you think about it.
Yeah. So this is a perfect segue too from what we were just talking about. Social wealth is all about your depth and breadth of connection to the people around you. It's the depth of connection with the few people that you're truly close to, and then it's the breadth to a broader circle of friends, community, spiritual connections, etc. There is clear scientific evidence that the strength of your relationships impacts your health and happiness more than anything else. The Harvard study of adult development was this amazing study done over the course of 85 years. They followed the lives of 2,000 plus participants. They found that the single greatest predictor of physical health at age 80 was relationship satisfaction at age 50. So it wasn't how your cholesterol was, your blood pressure, your smoking or drinking habits. It was how you felt about your relationships that impacted your physical health and aging outcomes. We know this in our own life, anecdotally, that the people we surround ourselves with determine our life, our happiness in life. And scientifically, it's also shown the people you surround yourself with determine your outcomes. The Pygmalion effect is this scientific phenomenon that we rise to the level of expectations others have for us. So if I surround myself with people who are big thinkers, who are encouraging me to push myself, who believe in me, who think I can grow, I will rise to the level of those expectations. Similarly, if I surround myself with people who laugh at me, who make fun of me for being excited about things, who put me down, I will fall to the level of those expectations. So what more reason do you need for surrounding yourself with people who are truly there for you?
What have you done to create that ecosystem of maximizing social wealth with the people in your circle?
I think this fundamentally comes down to investing in your relationships the same way you know to invest in your financial health. So we naturally know that investing in something in the financial world is going to compound into the future. Like, you learn that very early on. I'm going to put $10 away, $100 away into the S&P 500. It's going to compound into the future. I'm going to have more money in the future. Your relationships are perhaps the best investment you can make. They pay dividends in the exact same way for the entirety of your life. And if you invest in them with very small, tiny investments now, they will be there for you later. And if you don't, they won't. So, life ends up being filled with laters, right? We say, I'll spend more time with my kids later. I'll spend more time with my wife and friends later. I'll focus on my health later. The sad thing is that later just becomes another word for never. Because those things won't exist in the same way later. Your kids are not going to be 2.5 years old later. Your wife won't be there for you later if you're not there for her now. So either you design those things, design those investments into your life now, or you're just going to regret it later.
Yeah, one of the analogies that I love is the plants or seeds you don't continue to water will die. They will erode, they will break off. And I believe, and I'm victim to this as well, that we believe that something we have now is just going to be there when we come back to it, even if we don't maintain it or water it or take care of it. And the reality is we let something die and we try to come back to it and we realize this thing's not here. It's dead. It's not the same. It's different. It's eroded. And that is really hard to accept sometimes. But it's also just sometimes the byproduct of becoming busy and life. And that for me is why I've moved into this chapter and season of life of like, what does matter to me work-wise, family-wise, my faith, relationships, friendships. I need to keep watering these things because if I don't, when I try to come back to them later, they will have been dead or moved on.
And the truth is that it doesn't take much to keep them going. It's one of the points that I try to get across in the book is you don't need to be maximizing an area in order to keep it moving forward. Anything above zero compounds in your life. Quite literally. Like, it's much better to do a 15-minute walk than to do nothing physically during the course of a day. People think, especially ambitious people, that it needs to be optimal for it to be beneficial. I need to do the full Huberman protocol on X, Y, or Z. I need to do the 2-hour workout or the 10-mile run. And the reality is that the 2-mile run is better than the 0-mile run. And so similarly with your relationships, sending the little text to a friend to let them know you were thinking about them is way better than sending nothing. Getting your guys together for your one annual trip that you do is way better than just allowing that to continue to slip. It could be once a year that you get together with them, but it has a dramatic impact on where those relationships are headed. And so it's the willingness to engage in the tiny deposits along the way that really creates that lasting effect. And you're absolutely right that you have to fight for these things. You actually have to pay a price in the short term to have these things in the long term. It's the ultimate delayed gratification. Jeff Bezos, in his last shareholder letter when he left Amazon, quoted this piece from The Blind Watchmaker. And he talks about the fact in it that you have to pay a price for your distinctiveness in the world. And the idea from The Blind Watchmaker is that being alive is a fight against your whole body just melting into its surroundings. That's literally what being alive is. All of your cells right now, as you're sitting here listening to this, are fighting to avoid just melting. They have to fight to maintain their integrity. And you are the exact same in your life in all of these areas. You have to fight every single day to avoid the natural entropy and decay of all these things. We know that physically, actually. If you do nothing, your body's eventually going to go to shit.
You atrophy. Yeah. Falls apart.
Yeah. And the same thing applies to relationships, to any of these areas.